Hi, everybody. So, welcome to Get Cute While Quarantine with Felicia Leatherwood. And today I have some special guests joining me. As you know, the world is on fire right now. And I don't mean just literally, but I mean inside, like like we're fired up. Everybody's fired up and emotional, and a lot is happening. And what I come to realize is that there's a lot of healing, individual healing that needs to happen. The world is trying to heal, but individually we need to heal as people of color. And so I have some amazing guests joining me today so we can talk about the healing process, the self-care process of what's happening with us. And this was a very last minute live broadcast because I wasn't quite sure if we should do it. I had some wonderful support from a lot of you out there who follow me every week saying, yes, you need it. So a lot of this information about today's live went out very late at night just because of going back and forth with what we should focus on and what we should feature today. And I think self-healing is one of the biggest parts, one of the biggest components. So before we start, I want to also point out that My Black is Beautiful has been sponsoring me for the last the lives for the last 2-3 weeks now, and they have kindly and graciously supportively donated this bag of amazing goodies and hair products. But this bag is so cute, and just the fact that it says My Black is Beautiful is something that we definitely need to embrace right now. So there's some winners. Some of you have posted with the hashtag Get Cute While Quarantine, and you've hashtag MBIB self care. And so you have the bag coming, and some of you will have this amazing t shirt that My Black is Beautiful is sending out to you. So we'll talk about that later. As it relates to the winners. Let me bring on my special guest so we can really get into this conversation because I want to give it as much time as possible. And this is something that in this moment, this hour, we may not be able to heal in an hour, but to take some of the pearls that will be dropped, the wisdom that will be given, the aha moments, the reflection of self, to take that into your beingness and to spread that with friends and family. That's where the real magic comes in, is how we carry the information going forth. So let me bring on my guests, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves because they're amazing. Hey.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you so much for joining me. We're going to start with, we're going to start with Les. And I want to talk about, I want you to introduce yourself and tell everybody about the podcast really quickly.
Yes, thank you for having me, Felicia. So my name is Les, and I am, oh, you can't hear me? Uh-oh. Am I good now?
It's just delayed. It's fine.
Okay.
Yep, it's just delayed a little bit, but
okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, good. Well, thank you for having me. So my name is Les, and I am the host of a podcast called Balanced Black Girl that is all about health, wellness, self-care, and well-being from the Black woman's perspective. So on my podcast, we cover a wide variety of physical, mental, emotional health, professional development topics. And in each episode, I interview Black woman experts from all of these various areas of health and wellness.
Yeah. Awesome. And then Tiffany, right, talk to us.
Hey, everyone. So grateful to be in this space. Thank you, Felicia, for having me. I have a couple of things. So one, I am a mental health clinician. I'm based in Inglewood, California. I provide therapy services for individuals in California. So I do online therapy for people in LA. I do ecotherapy. I'm a very mindfulness-centered practitioner. Aside from that, I'm also a writer. So I've self-published a couple of books under focusing on self-love and empowerment. I'm very, very passionate about creating healing spaces around the topic of self-love with individuals. So I have a blog and platform called The Be Life, which is focused on self-love, empowerment, and mental health resources. And then lastly, I'm a co-founder of a nonprofit social enterprise called Coco Coalition. It's me and two of my other really close friends, and we actually started it in conjunction of the Sandra Bland murder in 2015. We launched a safe space, brunch space, because millennials love brunch, where we were talking about microaggressions and just self-care that needed to come during that time, which is very much similar to what's going on now. And we created an international movement of healing spaces for women of the African diaspora around the country, around the world. And we continue to facilitate healing spaces for Black women to help them heal, grow, connect, and just thrive. So
that's so good. That is so good. So are you guys good? Is there too much feedback? It's okay.
I'm good. I hear you.
So there's a few things we're going to get into it. And it might get a little deep. And
love deep. Deep is great. Deep is great.
You guys can, we have a few people on because, like I said, I posted it late and it was just a lot happening yesterday. But I'm grateful for the few people that are here because you really only need what does the Bible say? Where two or more are gathered, you have something powerful. So I feel like this conversation is gonna live all over, social media. But what do you think? And I want to start with you, Tiffany, and then go to you, Les. Where do you think the healing needs to actually start? Because now the world is watching. So what would be the protocol for us as people of color to set the guidelines of what needs to happen next? Because now everybody's like, okay, Black Lives Matter, but now they're looking at us like, what do you want to do? So what do you want to do with it? So what do we do with it now?
Yeah. So of course, as a therapist, I'm having conversations with my clients in addition to people in the therapeutic community. And I want to say about the therapeutic community, because you would be surprised at the amount of white clinicians that are so shocked about what's going on, and the amount of white clinicians that are underhandedly spewing racist thoughts and beliefs. And these are people who hold spaces for Black, brown, and everything in between, And so one thing that I've been just really trying to share with people is part of this is systemic and part of it is psychological. So you can't just, break down the whole thing just by doing one thing. It's not just
when
like
you say
one
systemic. Explain to the people that are watching what that word means. A lot of people don't even know what that word means.
Okay, yeah, this is true. So, so my background is social work. I have a bachelor's in sociology and psychology, then I have a master's in social work. So I take a very intersectional approach to how I support clients, and that is being mindful of any social, political, economic structures that cause challenge for them, which manifests in just the personal day-to-day experience. So when I say that racism is partially systematic and partially psychological, what I'm speaking to is understanding that as a system, there are different institutions at play that affect people in their social experience. So these are legal institutions, right? This is like literally the law. This is law enforcement. This is law on local, state, federal levels, right? So that's one thing, right? Then you have education, that in and of itself. For the matter of the fact that most of our school districts are set up by average income, if on average you have income of people who've been institutionalized, who don't have the necessary resources that they need to live, their brothers, their uncles, their grandparents, their mamas, their sisters are institutionalized. They don't have the wealth of the resources that they need to even get to the point of being in mid-tier or higher level incomes, right? So even just educational systems is allocated based off of economic resources. Then you have things like housing. You are more likely, even if you're a Black family and a white family with the same income, going in for a housing loan, the white person, the white family is more likely to get that loan than the Black family, right? So then you have housing policies, or, housing structures. You have financial structures, right? Same thing, bank loans for businesses, just being able to start accounts for whatever reason, right? Then we have medical systems, right? Black women, we know the history of Black women and Black men, and everything in between. Just Black people experiencing what they experience with the medical profession, right? Black women were sterilized, they were experimented on, right? Like the development of medical tools were first developed in use around Black women in their reproductive system. They didn't believe that we experience pain. And that is something that continues to this day, that Black women are not taken care of. That's why maternal rates are high, maternal death rates are high. So you have the medical system, you have the legal system.
So many layers.
You got the education system, right?
People don't understand. It's literally like a book of pages longer, like the biggest book ever created,
right,
of these layers and pages of who we are and what
right,
we go through and what's been
right,
placed on us.
yeah,
It's so interesting because we're at the bottom of each layer of that. So you don't even get to the real person because all these stereotypes have been put on us. All
right,
these negative connotations and all this
right,
stuff has been put on us. So it's like making it like literally,
yeah.
we gotta brush through. We gotta brush
Exactly,
through.
but that's what I'm saying.
Time
Exactly.
to talk about that as well.
Right. So it's partially systemic, and so my point into just saying all of that is white supremacy is so ingrained in all of our institutions. It even translates over to Black people believing that they're not good enough. Every narrative you have is your parent tells you, well, you got to try 2, 3, 4, 5 times as hard, right? So it's built in a way to make us think that we're inferior, that we don't matter, that we have to strive for, acceptance from, white people, right? It's just so ingrained. So healing actually partially starts with understanding the impact that racism and white supremacy has on you. See, as a mental health professional, I help people tap into what's going on in their body. And there is a lived experience that's going on a cellular and neurobiological level that's not just your lived experience, but it's intergenerational too.
We're going to get into that one, Tiffany. We are. Yeah. I want to give Les a chance to also expand on that.
Definitely. I mean, I think from an individual level, it is so challenging because we can't self-care systemic racism away. Self-care practices as we know it can only do so much. They can't undo 400 years of trauma and systems built up against us. Right now, in a lot of ways, on an individual level, that is kind of the best that we have. And so I loved everything that Tiffany said, especially around understanding how racism has impacted us as individuals and how that can kind of manifest in ourselves. And I think that having that awareness and understanding what those cues are that your body gives you is so important. And then having those healthy coping mechanisms when those cues pop up is so helpful. And even for myself, when I'm thinking about self-care at this time, I'm breaking it down healing. I'm breaking it down to the most basic things of what are my basic needs right now? Like, have I had water today? Have I stood up and just breathed for 5 minutes? Did I get a semi-decent amount of sleep. I mean, I don't know any Black person right now that's sleeping fully and well, but we're doing the best we can with that. Just breaking it down in the most basic of things and making sure our basic needs are taken care of to the best of our abilities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anybody who's watching right now, what I really want to convey is that, I've been in the entertainment industry for a long time. And one thing that always bothered me is that we're always put under one umbrella. Like everybody can be, you can have so many different types of white people, so many different types of Asian people, Latino people, Black people. It's always, oh, your family's on crack, somebody in jail. We call each other N-word all the time. People sagging pants. You shooting in the air. It's always this whole thing. And what they glorify are these images where rappers are spewing money and pouring out champagne just to keep it going. And I feel like this is a good opportunity, a good time for people to see there's so many different types of Black people. You have educated, you have people going to college, people who didn't, they're entrepreneurs. There are people who are self-made. There are people who are in the hood and they still are holding it down and being entrepreneurs. You saw Nipsey Hussle. Like, nope. A lot of people didn't even know who he was until he passed away, until he was murdered. And then they started to research and like, oh my God, he was actually super smart, but he was hood. And so I feel like this is a good time for us to show each other that there are so many different types of Black folks out there, and stop putting us in this box of one thing that is negative and that isn't prosperous. So every time like you have a Black girl who is a gymnast and she wins a medal, everybody's like, oh my God. Or you have Serena Williams who wins, oh my God. Like they act like we're like a phenomenon. There's only a few of us. No, we only needed the opportunity and the window to showcase who we are. There's different types of Black people everywhere, and stop boxing us in. And so I want to know if you feel like a lot of the oppression has been because of being boxed in. Les, can you speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there is very much the myth or idea of what an exceptional Black person is and looks like that is so harmful. I think it's harmful within our community, and I think it's harmful outside of our community. And we can't be in a space where even the incredible Serena Williams are more important because that's an acceptable, or everyone's favorite examples are probably like Oprah and Barack Obama, where they're put on this pedestal because they're the acceptable Black folks, but everybody else is one of the others or one of those. And that is a huge problem. I think it is really detrimental, and there's no one or right or wrong way to be a Black person, to have a Black experience, but to also be a worthy, living, breathing human.
Yeah. And Tiffany, what are your thoughts behind that?
I mean, I absolutely agree. Something that I am seeing so much during this time is that Black people are fighting about the way to advocate and fight and share our voice. And it's like, y'all can share your voice in the different ways that you want to share your voice. This is, again, it goes parts to understanding like what the strategy is around white supremacy, right? To invoke fear and to invoke a sense of divisibility and invisibility, right? It's to invoke this sense that you are powerless, that you don't have the instinct that you need, that you don't have the resources that you need, right? And everybody can be who they are, right? Now, of course, there might be some people that are saying things that are really toxic, just really, 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 really toxic, right? And they have big platforms and they're saying things, and there's white people looking at them like, ooh, that's the representative. And it's like, no, that's not, right? Yeah. Like that's happening. But it's just important that even when it goes back to self-care, like you choose what works for you. You choose the path that works for you. You choose the purpose that works for you. And you choose the expression of Blackness that feels most authentic to you, because there is no one way to be Black.
Mm-hmm. There is not one way to be black. That's yeah, and I just need the media though to stop perpetuating this
But
same
that's not going to
thing.
happen.
You know?
That's not going to happen
I
because
don't know.
then that would deconstruct the whole meaning of white supremacism. That's what I'm saying.
But I
You
feel like
have
the
to
reason why,
understand it's a system.
yeah, I feel like the system is crashing. I do. I feel like it's crashing. Now, I'm not saying it's going to crash today, tomorrow, next year, 10 years, but I'm saying that you got to chip away. In order to make a wheel, you have to start somewhere. You got to chip away at that rock.
Yeah.
To get round. However long that takes, it's got to happen.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, but I'm also the kind of person that says not and can't and heart. I don't use those words. So for me, it's a spiritual thing. It's about the spiritual, the consciousness of the planet and the consciousness of the people. We are more powerful than we even know.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Just physically, like honestly, we're more spiritually powerful than we know. We haven't tapped into that yet as it relates to this situation. We pray to God, which is great. We ask Jesus to come, great. But there is a power that has been given to us, inherited when we're born from the Most High, the universe, the abundance and the creation of what's magnificent outside of all of this. And we haven't tapped into that part. And so I feel like we're going to get there. It may be not in my lifetime, but just to see that glimpse, that light, that hope is what I'm looking at. That's what I'm looking for. So do you feel like, because I've been in some rooms, that's what I'll say. I've been in some rooms where people have tried to bring us together as a group. And it has gone in a very left direction because so many of us are hurting from since we were born. We came here with the hurt. And everybody in the group was like, oh my God, this is not going to work. We're not going to come together. But when I was in the group, I realized we individually have to have healing before we try to heal the planet. And I don't know that anybody's talking about this. Like Black Lives Matter, not just in the streets, not just with the police and the supremacy, but Black Lives Matter individually. Like us, like individually at home right now in quarantine, our lives matter. How do we take care of self? How do we self-care and get our mind together and start to work towards the healing process so that we can build a community that comes together?
Yeah. Who you want to take that first?
Okay.
Well, I mean, I think, so I'm actually going to piggyback off what you just said about the spiritual piece. One thing that I feel sets me apart as a clinician is I have what you call an existential or transpersonal framework, and I focus on an individual's spirituality, their sense of connection with themselves, because I often find that it doesn't take away that people did things to you and that there was harm done to you, right? But a lot of the lived experience that you have can come back to your perception of yourself, your feeling of yourself, and your connection to your purpose. And the more connected that you are to yourself, the more connected you can be to other people. So healing work looks like stillness. It looks like reflection. It looks like accountability. It looks like taking responsibility. It looks like accepting what has happened, not necessarily from a place of, oh, I think it was good or bad, but just accepting reality and thinking about what tools can I employ to move forward in my life from a place of purpose, from a place of genuineness. It's learning how to incorporate mindfulness practices like breathing, so you can check in with yourself when you feel activated by another person you see, whether they look like you or don't, whether you're angry, whether you're frustrated, whether they're reminding you of some past hurt, right? It looks like taking time to really answer the question, who am I? And filling your life up with the things that edify you, nurture you, and let you walk into this light or path of authenticity. So for Black peoples and people of color in general, You know, historically, we are creative, expressive people, right? Music, art, writing, drawing, painting, like all these things. So also understanding that healing comes with connecting to that part of our spiritual beings, which is expression outside of just like talking to other people, right? So even you're an artist, right? Like you're an artist and you touch people, and that's connection, right? Like there's so many ways that we can heal ourselves. And of course I will always push therapy, but just there are so many modalities of healing outside of that. And I think like on a personal level, that's something that's really important.
Yes. Yes.
I agree. And that's so beautiful. I have like chills right now because that's so beautiful. I think as well, you know, we can't advocate for Black lives and have it stop at keeping people alive. Obviously, keeping people alive is a big part of it. There is, right now, we have a lot of examples of issues around that. But I also think Black Lives Mattering means that we as Black people also have the best chance at life, and being able to take care of ourselves and understand our purpose and have that spiritual alignment and have that alignment with one another is an added layer and very important aspect of Black Lives Mattering. Because even if we still have our Black lives, but we're still constantly suffering, that doesn't send the message to me that I matter.
Yeah. Because the piece around inferiority, again, very much connected to white supremacy, right? You think about us as a people, West Africans are stripped from all that they know if they were able to make it over here, right? Told you can't sing, you can't dance, you can't speak your language, you can't believe in what you believe in, and I'm going to separate you from all that you know. Then you're seeing people abused, right? You're being abused, you're being assaulted. You don't get space to breathe because then you still have to work. You don't get space to practice your sense of spirituality or your connectedness. And then there's divisive, things just in play so that you do not depend on your brother or your sister or the other person here, there, this, that, and other. And so what happens is you have this narrative that this family tells the children coming in, you can't depend on people and you have to do this and you don't get space and and that continues and that continues. So part of that is the reason why a lot of us don't trust each other, right? Because we were told you can't depend on people and you can't trust other people and this, that, and the other. And so when we realize that we matter as an individual and we are just important to our community as we are to ourselves, and our community is equally as important to us as they are to themselves, then we can continue to move forward in that unity. But you have to know that you matter. The world would not be the same without you. But if you don't believe that you matter enough, then you can feel easily disconnected.
Yeah, it's true. I want to know what steps, anybody watching, what would be 3 things you could actually tell them to start doing today to work towards the healing process so that we come together in a different way? Tiffany?
I'm always going to ping therapy. So if not therapy, a safe talking space, right? So the point is when you feel invisible, when you feel unheard, when you feel unseen, when you feel misunderstood, it's most important to be a part of or intentionally create space where you can express yourself. We suppress our emotions, we suppress our thoughts, and we just suppress what we think and feel, essentially, right? So being able to safely express that's one. So talking to someone honestly. And I tell people, it's not just saying, yo, Les, I'm angry, I'm mad, F this BS, right? Talk about why. Why are you angry? Go to the depths of what the pain is so that you can expose that. So talking about it is one. 2, I say finding the modality that works for you in terms of connecting to purpose, right? So you can connect to purpose through community activism. That gives you something bigger than yourself. You can connect to purpose through a sense of spirituality. You can connect to purpose through community, coalition building. And you can connect to purpose through art. I'm a big believer in using art as a healing modality. And then the third thing that I would say is connection to body. So like I said, I'm really big on mindfulness practices. That's meditation, that's mindful eating, that's mindful walking, that's resting, that's being still, that's journaling, engaging in breathing exercises, because part of what you need to heal is actually the physiological responses that your body is going through. Because most people, regardless if they feel like they haven't experienced a trauma in this lifetime, they got PTSD just on ranks of intergenerational trauma. So that's just how it goes. It's activated, and part of the healing is learning how to train your body to not think that it's always unsafe, or that it always has something to fear. Because we fear each other, we fear ourselves, we fear our communities, and we don't even realize how integral the fear is to our lived experience. And so once you remove, or at least lessen that experience of fear, then you can be more open to love and joy and living and all these things.
Yes.
That's so good. I love that you said that, Tiffany. One of my personal mantras that I have for myself is I will constantly repeat, I am safe. I am safe. In those situations where I feel a little triggered, or my fight or flight comes on and I'm not in a situation that is truly dangerous. Reminding myself you are safe, and taking a moment to breathe to get back to that point of safety is my go-to. So I love that you said that. I think right now for me, what I'm finding is being really, really intentional about boundaries has been my biggest kind of self-care practice for this current moment. I think a lot of us have been put in positions where we as Black people are now automatically tapped as other folks' anti-racism educators, and teach me this, and how do I ally, and how do I do that? And I set a boundary for myself pretty early on, honestly, years ago, but really in all of this, where it was that is not my ministry. That is important, and I value and admire, my folks who choose to do that. That is not my ministry. So when people come to me with that, that is a hard boundary, because I have set for myself, that is not the role that I am here to play, and I'm not doing it. And so having that firm boundary to protect that piece, and really when people try to cross that line, having a very firm line where it's no, is really, really helpful. So I think when we know what role we want to play and connected to that purpose of who we want to be, knowing what that is, and then knowing what we need to feel whole, to feel safe, to feel taken care of, that can kind of help you draw some lines in the sand in terms of coming up with boundaries, or figuring out what you need to do for your personal healing. Because then when someone violates what you need to feel whole, to feel safe, hard pass. If someone violates that role that you've set for yourself, hard pass. And it becomes a lot easier to hold up those boundaries. I would also say learning how to listen to our bodies. So I had a background in fitness. I was a personal trainer for a number of years, and I did a lot of work with fitness and nutrition. And what I learned from that experience is so many people don't know how to listen to their bodies. They don't know when they're hungry. They don't know when they're fatigued. You can feel fatigued, but you don't know why. All of these things, we have so much disconnect from our bodies. And so I think even if it's something as simple as journaling about how you feel mentally, physically, just so that you can kind of start understanding the signals that your body sends you, and so that you can start understanding what situations can trigger certain physical or emotional feelings, is so helpful, because then that's when you know what you need. That's when you know what your body's trying to tell you.
Yeah. Such a great point, sis. Because a lot of folks don't really know. They focus on physical needs, but they don't focus on mental, emotional, and spiritual needs. And when so much that we need is neglected, and we don't fill that space in, it's really damaging.
This is one of the reasons why I even wanted to have this call. It was about supporting the mind, body, spirit. As a hairstylist, I feel like I'm supporting the body and possibly the mind. I don't know if I can touch the spirit of it. but I wanted to bring you two on to talk more to that side, because I am not, I'm not a licensed psychologist or anything like that. I remember I went through years of therapy, and therapy, just so anybody who's watching needs to know, therapy is not like going to a car wash. You don't just run through and you come out and clean. Like, you literally have to do it for a while.
Yeah.
You're washing not only the outside of who you are, but the inside. There's some deep-seated things that we have not even tapped into or dug out. And one of my issues is I don't like to cry. But as a Black person, you grow up not crying because you're told right before getting the spanking, you better not
cry.
I'll give you something to cry about.
Exactly.
Never doing that one.
So you become hard. And I think that hardness is what the world sees as anger. They see that as, oh, the angry Black woman or the angry Black man. But we have been conditioned to not cry, even during slavery. Like,
thank you. Please bring it back, because you always got to bring it back to the context. We didn't just create these conditions for ourselves. So I'm glad you said that.
So yeah, during slavery time, it was like you didn't know, on one hand, okay, master want to hear you well, so he got pleasure. But on another hand, you didn't want the slaves to hear you break down. You wanted them to be strong. You was trying to be strong for your family while you were getting whipped and beat. So there's so much that, again, these layers I have posted, it's like an onion peeling, just layers of it. And we're talking about a huge ass onion. We talk big onion. Like, you can't even get through enough of the layers to get to the end. And so a lot of these companies right now, God bless them for wanting to support Black, but it's not just, oh, we're going to support Black people. We're going to put you on. We're going to shine light on what you've done. This is deeper than that. This is how they need to, I feel like other races need to reflect on their thoughts of who we are. Like, we got enough stuff going on. We've been thinking about us, them, and whoever else around us as we conduct ourselves in the world. Now, I feel like, can we relax? Can we rest? Can we put our feet up and have y'all think about what we need deeper than just saying this is a good product or this is a good person, or look at this person, they're great, look what they did, Black excellence. We need more.
Yeah.
We need you to really understand us like you would understand a dolphin being hunted out of the ocean, a dog laying by the side of the road that got hit by a car, the compassion you would give a bird that fell out a tree, out of net, to put it back in the nest with its babies. I feel like we need that level of compassion. And we're not animals, but I notice that other races respond to animals with a compassion that, and a love that I've never felt in the world. So I think we need more than just the put on. These people are great.
Oh yeah.
We need deeper than that. What do you guys think about that?
I 100% agree with that. And I've had to say that to people and have that conversation with people. In all of a sudden, all of these brands and platforms and folks wanting to bring us on their platforms and have conversations. And I've had to say, you're not ready for those conversations. You have not at all processed your own anti-Blackness. The reason why you never wanted to invite me to be a part of this in the first place, you've never addressed that. So you trying to bring me into that space when you haven't handled that is unsafe. It's unproductive. And you really need to sit with your people, your ancestors, and their anti-Blackness, because that has a whole lot more to do with them than it actually has to do with us. And they need to understand that, understand their behaviors, and dig into that work.
Yeah, it's definitely to me, and this is from a spiritual aspect for me, it is really I'm going to go back to a disconnection with self, because the question is, every time something like this happens, why can't you see me in you. Like, we have differences, but we actually have a lot more similarities than differences.
Mm-hmm.
We both bleed. We both have organ systems. We have bones. We have cells. We have nails. We both get hurt, feel frustrated. We both feel unseen. We both feel unheard in some way, shape, or form. That's just part of the human condition. Why can't you see me as human? Like, why? Where is the empathy? And that to me is spiritual dis-ease. You know, the inability to have empathy for someone that is like you, but you know, this gorilla is shot and you want to have the world turn over on its back for it, you know? So that's part of the challenge. And, you know, even with that though, when it comes back to ourselves, that's why to me, Black joy is one of the most important forms of resistance,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because in a system that is built to make you feel inferior, like you should be in fear, like you don't matter, to continue to thrive and be great and love and find joy and create in the midst of everything, that is the legacy of our people. And it's so unfortunate that we have to pull and cultivate all this light in the midst of this darkness, but it is a constant spiritual battle. And when more people can continue to not put their faith in these people just approving me, but learning how to approve of yourself and continuing to spread that light and that joy and that gratitude. It's just like, that's the harmony and the harmonious wave that's going on right now. It's because there is a spiritual revolution around empathy and compassion. And that's what's shifting the consciousness. It's not just people saying, do this or don't do that. The more that humans are connecting on a spiritual level, that is the energy, that is the power that brings about revolution and change.
That's what I love. And let's real quick, because I want to, there's some questions coming up through the feed. What does revolution mean right now? Because people hear the word revolution, they think, oh, go buy a gun and go to the streets with it. I don't think that's what we're talking about. Is it?
I mean, I don't know how coy you want me to be.
Let's get into the part of the revolution where we're not going to get into the part where it will not be televised.
Okay, well, just like Blackness comes in many forms, revolution comes in many forms. I will just say it that way.
Yeah. Okay. I think revolution is an opportunity to rebuild.
Yeah.
However, to rebuild, you got to break some things that are currently standing.
You have to destroy what exists.
Yes.
That's what you have to do.
And it's ugly, but it's necessary.
Okay. We'll leave it there.
But I will just, in the most coy way, the key thing to understand is that the word evolution is in revolution.
I like that.
Right? I like it. So if you focus on what it means to evolve in consciousness, in connection, in understanding, in knowledge, in love, all these things, if there is an evolution going on, that is part of the revolution. Now, the different formats that people want to go through with that, it's up to them.
Yeah.
So one of the questions from Jocelyn is, can you address how to take care of oneself from the guilt that comes from being Black, or POC that is not presented like the activist that is being present in the media, and these pressures that come from our own people? That's a good one.
Yeah. Great. Oh my gosh, I've been answering this question all week.
We'll get into it. We got 15 minutes.
Yeah, because I'm going to go back to the shame. had a lot, because most of my clients are Black, and then mostly people of color, and I just have a very few that are white. And so there is a lot of shame around, like, well, I don't necessarily want to be protesting, or, you know, I don't feel like I can speak to the Black experience like some people feel, right? Because that is even a thing for a lot of people, believe it or not. Like, there's some Black people who are like, I don't feel like I've been discriminated against, or I don't feel like people are racist towards me, so I don't feel like I even know how to speak to this, right? Like, that happens for people. And the reality is, you know, and this to me goes back to a sense of purpose. Okay, you find the middle between what's a little bit uncomfortable and challenging and what feels aligned for you, right? And so for you, that could be information dissemination. Knowledge is really, really important. I mean, you can't control if people are going to read it. You can't control if people are comprehending it. But if you can disseminate information, that's wonderful. Okay. During this time, you can support people who are protesters. You can support them by sending them encouragement. You can support with signs during protests. You can support with food and safety supplies during protests, right? You can be a person that creates coalition or community building, right? Again, can you offer safe spaces? Can you reach out to find safe spaces for people who are feeling really traumatized? I've had so many people reaching out to me looking for therapists for their friends that are protesting right now. Like, that's a big deal.
I honestly wanted to ask you at some point, and I want, let's say, also answer that question, but I wanted to ask you, I shouldn't say there should, is there a list of therapists of color?
Oh yeah, there's tons of them.
Can have
there's tons of directories. Yeah, there's tons of directories. Yeah, I could drop that. I can drop that.
We all need to share that information.
But yeah, so you can do informal things like information dissemination, supporting people on the front line, supporting, you know, these organizations that are doing the work. And I would just add the extra caveat, the Black ran ones, okay? The ones that have Black people as executives on the boards, all this stuff, because that makes a difference. And then just like, you know, something like maybe Me or Less does. We create just like spaces of like joy and gratitude and love. And that's part of the fight too, because when people need to rest, they need somewhere to go, right? So if you're really good at gratitude or you're really good at positivity, like, that's important as well. And that could be a part of what you're offering during this time. And that's important for people to know.
Yes.
So completely agree.
You have any words towards that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I completely agree. And I think that question lends itself well to kind of where we started with, there's no right or wrong way to be Black. There's no necessarily, the best role that you can take in this is the role that's right for you. So if being out on the front lines is not right for you, but like Tiffany said, you are a great support person, or you can support those who are, or you're great at cheering people up and creating safe spaces, that's just as important.
Yes. Let's see. So, Miss Elliott, because I don't want to mess up her first name. If you're one of the ones who can move through systems without experiencing direct racial impact, you can use that power to help those that do move through those spaces. That's so true. That is so true. So even to that, like, what should we be saying to people who are non-Black? Everybody knows somebody. You can call them friends, colleagues, I don't know, associates. What are we calling them to action for something? And if so, what is the action? Les, do you have?
That's a good question. I think it depends. I have only had a few of those conversations, but it has really been with people who are either asking or who want to be giving action. I mean, I just do not have the energy to try to convince people who are truly just not trying to hear it that our lives matter and that they should support that. I don't have the energy for it. So if someone has expressed, I see this, I want to support this, I think it kind of goes back to what we were just talking about, that yes, I do think that they should be taking action as well. And the best action that they should take is going to depend on who they are and where they're coming from. Because I also see a lot of folks, non-Black folks, jumping in and trying to take action and also causing more harm because, again, they haven't done that inner work in themselves. So I think it depends on where they're starting from. Like, yes, they should be taking action, but I think it just depends on who they are and where they're at in their own journey.
Okay. But I mean, so if you're in a group of people and they're having a conversation and they're not all Black, and somebody says, well, I think all lives matter, do you walk away from that conversation? Or does your ego, spirit, mind say, I'm gonna need to let you know that you're, like,
Les already talked about her boundaries. She said she's having boundaries during this time. So I'm gonna reiterate.
Thank you.
Now, I have come across this amazing resource that I can text you, and if you want to send out to your followers or whatever, you can, Felicia. But this Black couple put together this website called #Protect Your Energy. And it's a list. They put together this list of canned responses. So literally they have questions that non-Black people would ask, and you could just copy and paste, put in a text message. They got email.
Somebody write that. What is it?
Put it in here. One of my co-founders, I see her in there. Mimo, drop it in there. It's #protectyourenergy.weebly.com. And
yes,
they have tons of resources in there. They even have links to articles around, like, if you're in different industries, what are the different ways that you can do something. So I'm not having conversations with nobody, because as a therapist, I'm granting space to process stuff to people, and I don't have like this space to do this emotional labor for you. There are Black people who want to do that emotional labor during this time. I am not one of them, and I don't judge them. That's wonderful. We all have different roles to play, but that's not my role. So and there's actually, a friend sent this to me, that there's a lot of groups out there called tagging groups, where there are white people setting up to do emotional labor for Black people and people of color. So if somebody asks them, there's a lot of Facebook groups out there. So if people are wanting to ask Black people stuff, they will go and find information and give it to people. So that's what I've been doing. I've been using a lot of the resources now. Okay, this one right here. Protect your
hashtag.
I'm going to share that. Thank you.
It's really, really great, y'all. And there's stuff on there that Black people can read too,
Okay, I'm excited.
That's the thing. I think there's a lot of opportunity for education for Black people too, because there's people that don't know about certain aspects of history, or what I was talking about, like systematic racism. There's people that don't know about those things. So it's opportunity for us to understand more about what's going on too.
Yeah. So the hashtag is there for everybody watching. The hashtag is there.
Thank you, Maria.
And you can go. Please copy that. And also, this video will be on my Facebook page, Loving Your Hair with Natural Care. I'm gonna try to put this video everywhere. To be honest, with Instagram, YouTube. I'm trying to put it everywhere because I'm always talking about hair and hair care, and I love that. I'm a hair nerd, but people don't know the other side of who I am, and that's this right here. So I'm excited. I'm happy that we're here to have this conversation. And I'm really grateful for the people who have taken the time out to be here with us on this Saturday. We have about 8 or so minutes left. And what saddens me about that is that there's never enough time to get through all of this. This conversation is a 24/7 conversation, y'all. 24/7. So that is a very different look, because we have it's been embedded in us is a sense of not having self-worth, a sense of not having self-respect,
right?
A sense of not having confidence. And that is something that's been just ingrained in us hard. And so to reverse that is what I try to do with hair. And I feel like this is what Les tries to do with the podcast. This is what Tiffany is doing with her work in the community. Like, we are trying to reverse all of that conversation from the time we came here. A lot of us don't even know who we are or who we would be without the impressions of the world and racism of what I grew up with my grandmother saying, you know, we about to go around these white folks. You better act a certain way. You better straighten up. You need to do your hair a certain way. You're about to be. And so my grandmother was afraid. And I'm a strong Black woman. So I looked up to my grandmother. My grandmother, tall. My grandmother was like 6 feet tall.
Wow. And
she would walk with this stride that was so powerful. But then when the white folks came around, it would change. And that, looking back on that now, I'm like, wow, grandma had so much power that she never ever got to tap into it. Because of the racism. So how do we tap into our power right now? How do we do it, Les? How do we do it, Tiffany?
Such a good question.
It's a process.
It is. I think it starts off with understanding what your power is, being able to harness it from within yourself, because you can't outwardly, share your power. You don't yet have it and own it and really live in it. So I think internally doing the work to understand what your power is and being really comfortable and unafraid of your power is the first step.
Yeah. Something that I've been mentioning to people again, and I really just like putting things in historical context, because I think people that think that they can separate from history, is that as Black people, our value has been defined by work and our body. Through our bodies, meaning sexual exploration, right? Trafficking, abuse, procreation. And so much that has to do with our worth is wrapped in how hard we can work, how much we can make, how sexualized and attractive we can be. And our worth is so much more than that. And so if people understand like how intricate that is into like our narrative of ourselves, like you're saying, Felicia, I think is so important. So really, really trying to think about what are the things that bring you joy that don't have to do with external validation? What are the things that you just feel warm and fuzzy doing that are just like fun and playful and free, right? And really getting in tune to that, I think is a way that you can just really start to understand who you are beyond everything outside and like all the noise.
Yes. No, seriously. So I like to be proactive. A lot of people, they call and they talk to me for several years. Oh, I'm gonna do this. Somebody needs to do. If you ever call me, you start a conversation with somebody needs to, I'm probably gonna check out on you. I'm gonna tune out. I'm gonna check out on you because you are the somebody. You are somebody. We all know 5 powerful people.
Yeah.
That are also somebody.
Yeah.
And when we come together, this is just this is Felicia's advice. Take it or leave it. I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do with themselves. But when you want to bring Black folks together to do something, have a plan first. At least have some bullet points to draw from. Some points of interest that matter to the person you're talking to. And you say to them, I'm not sure about how to go about this, but this is what I would like to do. Do you know who or how to point me in the right direction to make this possible? I want to create a better way of life for myself and the people around me. I think that's how we need to come to each other, with hands open, arms open, ready to receive the advice and the love. You show up and your arms are folded and you show up like you already got the plan, or you know what you're talking about, and you're not willing to be open to hear. If you show up and you don't have self-awareness to know when the ego is talking versus that spiritual side that wants greater, that's not going to get us there.
Yeah.
Anybody watching, this is just my own pearls I'm throwing out. Like I said, I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do, but you have to show up willing to hear, open to receive, and ready to give, ready to give, willing to give. And so that's just what I feel is a purpose or a mission statement for me.
Mm-hmm.
Les, tell me what your mission statement would be showing up to other people to produce something amazing.
I love that question. I don't know if I'll be eloquent with it, but I think that my mission and so much of what I want is for us to be able to show up upon unapologetically who we are, mm-hmm. and to have love and vibrancy and just collective growth in that. And so, I mean, for me, it's creating and being as part of as many spaces where people are processing how they need to process and doing what they need to do, and not fitting anybody into a box, even if they're processing things or going about things different than me, continuing to hold that space and letting people do what they need to do so that we can kind of collectively move forward together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For me, I have a personal mission statement in life, and my personal mission is to break cycles of dis-ease, dysfunction, and struggle emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and financially. And in any way that I give myself available to do that, I try to do that. In conjunction with that, I'm just all about identifying strengths and gratitude. So my encouragement to people when they enter into spaces, kind of what you're saying, Felicia, is like, find the strengths of the space, find the strengths of the people involved, tap into your strengths. How can you bring your strengths together? Often people are so focused on like, they not doing this and they not doing that and they need to do this. Okay, well, let's focus on our strengths and let's bring them together. And when we can leverage each other's strengths, that's what makes it powerful. That's what making all of this powerful right now. People are really learning how to leverage each other's strengths.
Yes. Yes. Thank you both so much for this. I could talk to you guys for hours. and I don't even feel like, we're doing it. It's a Saturday. It's last minute, but this conversation needs to continue. It really does. So before we go, can you please, each of you share how people can reach you, how they can find you and connect with you and love you and support you?
Yeah. So again, my name is Tiffany. I am a clinician, author, speaker, trainer in Inglewood in the LA area. So you can visit my website, TiffanyWrightMSW.com, or you can just follow me on Instagram, Tiff Inspires, TIFF Inspires. Also, I have a social enterprise that's for Black women, breathing Black women, encouraging Black women, and I would encourage you to tap into that. It's called COCO Coalition. So you can just go to our Instagram, COCO Coalition.
I love that name, by the way.
Thank you.
And my name is Les. So Balanced Black Girl, the podcast, is my main thing. So we have new episodes coming out every other Tuesday. So this upcoming Tuesday, we're going to have a new episode out, whatever podcast platforms that you like, on Instagram at Balanced Black Girl Podcast. And then also I put together a resource guide for those of us who are looking for different places that we can go and resources to pour into ourselves. So it's basically like a giant Google Doc spreadsheet that I've been updating every day. I'm going to update it after this conversation with all the extra resources we've shared, with places to find Black therapists, people to follow on social media for inspiration, Black-owned self-care brands. So it has a ton of information there. If you go to balancedblackgirl.com/guide, it just automatically takes you to the Google sheet. So if you're looking for more ways to pour into yourself, that spreadsheet has some good stuff, and I'm constantly adding to it.
Yeah,
that's so wonderful. Good. Thank you both so much. I am going to this will, like I said, this will be on Facebook, and all the people who tuned in today, please share it with your friends and family. and have the conversation. Honestly, sit down with them, have conversations on many levels. Have conversations with them about how to rebuild not just the community, but the inside of who you are, your spirit. Have conversations even with your pastor about, rebuilding the congregation's spirit, maybe taking some of the tithe and offering and pouring it into the community to rebuild some of the businesses. Have conversations with your children and check in with them. Check in and see what they even feel about themselves. I do this thing where I say names and phrases and I ask people to tell me what's the first color that shows up, black or white. So I may say politics, black or white. People automatically say white. I may say soul food, they go black. I may say, a certain car. They'll tell you. Like, so it's really interesting for us to check and see what our association is with ourselves and with other people as it relates to these phrases and these names, because maybe that needs to be changed as well, and so it's really good to check in with your family. It's also good for your children and your family to have a place where you meet up in case of a national emergency. How do you communicate with one another? All the cell phones go dead, all the things. How do you communicate? We don't have enough preparation to support ourselves and the community. So while we're trying to heal, we're also trying to figure out what resources we have and what we can use. So it's really important for us to look and make a list of things. Get out that Popeyes fried chicken line, man. I passed Popeyes earlier and the line was around the corner. And it made me sad because I feel like food will definitely bring down your vibration. So we got to look into the things that we put in our body and our mind and our spirit. So this conversation, this isn't the end of it. It goes past all of this, but I'm so grateful for the both of you being on with me. And
Felicia, I think, can I share something really quick? So I actually, literally speaking to exactly what you said, this is why I'm mentioning it. I actually published a book in December called The 5 Commandments of Self-Love. And it literally is speaking to honoring thy mind, thy body, thy spirit, forgiveness, and honoring thyself. And so if y'all on that Felicia tip, check out my book, 5 Commandments of Self-Love. I just
5 Commandments of Self-Love. That is excellent. I love the name. Actually, is Mimo still around? Can she put that in real quick?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. So
I love
it on Amazon.
So what I have to do is I actually have to. I'm going to release you guys. So I don't want you to have to sit any longer. I know you have your Saturday is full, but I
could talk about this stuff all day.
I have to announce some winners from last week. My Black is Beautiful that did sponsorship. I was on with Issa last week, who was an amazing client of mine, and so I have to announce some winners, and y'all can stick around if you want to, or I can release you. So
I don't mind sticking around.
Okay. Yeah. It's going to be quick. We had a few winners. Oh, let's see here. Is this your book?
Yeah, I think that's the Amazon link to it.
And the name of it, I know that's a lot.
5 Commandments. The 5 Commandments of Self-Love.
That right there. That's excellent. Thank you, Nadine, for that. So we had a few winners from last week, and I announced a few people that did not send me their address. It's My Black is Beautiful, amazing name, title, company, hair product line, and they were kind enough to sponsor and donate this incredible bag with
Beautiful.
these incredible products on the inside. And I've had the opportunity to work with some of these products. They're really, really great. And so, and they have them for different textures, which I'm really happy about. And they use turmeric. It's the golden milk ingredient, which
Wow.
I love. I love to drink it and put it on the hair.
Yes. Listen.
Thank you, my Black is Beautiful. And this shirt, y'all. This shirt, some people will get this shirt, which is incredible, because look at all the positive.
Oh, that is so beautiful.
I mean,
Oh
this
my
is what we need right
God.
now. We need
I
this.
want
I know. I think it's my size, but let's make that happen. So, some
Beautiful.
women who have been wonderful and they've done their hashtags in order to win the shirt and some of the products. The women were to follow My Black is Beautiful on Instagram, which is MBIB. You were supposed to hashtag get cute while quarantined and hashtag MBIB self care. So, one of the ladies who did that, and I know most of you guys are you're in here by your Instagram name. That's what I have. So I have Naturalista with Allergies UK. Naturalista with Allergies UK. I want to talk to you about that name because I want to know what your allergies are, you know. And then there is a newly Adora one. A newly Adora one. You are one of the winners. Thank you so much. And I don't know if I told Natural Nini 61. I talked to you last week. And then we have ER1CAK. So I think that's Ek or Air1 Cake. Air1 Cake. And she let her relaxer go. Girl, I applaud you for that. You let your relaxer go and you transition. So proud. So proud. And then Quiche. This name is super cute. It's KUICHE_KEESH. So for those of you that I've called, please send me a DM message with your address, your information, so we can send you out your gift. Send me a DM at Loving Your Hair on Instagram or on Facebook. You can send me a DM at Loving Your Hair with Natural Care Workshop. I am so grateful to you. Oh, Naturalist with Allergy is here. Good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yes, one. So make sure you send me your information, and so we can get you out your gift. So thank you so much. I can't even thank you both
Thank
enough.
you.
Thank you for having us.
This is a great conversation.
It was.
And I'm super
Listen.
grateful to everybody. And thank you, My Black is Beautiful, for being sponsors and being here with us for the last 3 weeks while we talk about this. And y'all, please go forth, be prosperous, be well.
Rest.
Rest. Yes. Please
Give
rest.
yourself permission to rest. You are grieving. It's okay to rest, y'all.
Yes, yes, yes. And I think everything we've said is just honestly enough right now for us to take and do something with it. So y'all rewatch this, pass it on to your friends, but reflect on it for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
Felicia.
you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.